Now call the Iberia Parish Council meeting of May 23rd, 2018. It's now 6:25. Let's do the prayer. Dear Lord, thank you for getting us through all these 2 years and 4 months. There's been a number of times we've glanced down and there's only one pair of shoes in the sand, but now we're all coming to our time and being able to bond and deliver a message to the people that we're here to serve them. And we have some interesting things tonight that we need your help to get us through. Amen.
Amen.
Mr. Gonsalas?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Roll call.
Tommy Pollard. Michael Landry. Tommy Landry.
He's here.
Lloyd Brown. Warren Goshasang. Natalie Broussard.
Here.
Paul Landry.
Here.
Ricky Gosselin.
Here.
Joe Dugas. Eugene Olivier.
Here.
Brian Napier.
Here.
Berwick Francis. Marty Trahan.
Here.
Chad Mottram.
Here.
Okay, we need a motion to go into public comments. I have a motion by Mr. Tommy Pollard and a second by Michael Landry. Roll call. Eugene? So, and voting. That motion passes. We're now in public comments. Item number 1, comments from the general public on non-agenda items. We have no slips turned in. Item number 2, comments from the general public on agenda items. We have no forms. Persons being considered for appointment to parish boards or commissions to address the council. Is anyone out here would like to announce? We move on. Reports, finance, and administration. Oh, we need, I have a motion by Ms. Broussard, a second by Mr. Brown to close public comments. Roll call. And that motion passes. Reports, finance, and administration action, we have none. Reports from the parish and other governmental agencies, members of the Iberia Parish Levy, Hurricane, and Conservation District to present a reimbursement check to the parish of Iberia. Is anyone here from the levy board? We just ask y'all to go ahead and state your names.
Jimmy Landry, Iberia Parish Levy District.
Ben Longley, Chairman, Iberia Parish Levy District. Go ahead, Jim.
All right. Being the vote failed for the levy district, we took the funds that between the Port of Iberia that gave us money and the parish government that gave us money. The accounting firm went through everything. We paid all the bills. Everything's done. And we have a reimbursement check for y'all for $23,269.15.
Thank y'all very much. We appreciate that.
Any questions?
Okay. Let's see, Mr. Napier's first.
Jimmy, Ben, I just want to commend y'all and the board for all y'all did to try to educate the people and bring it forward to give the people a chance to be enlightened about what y'all were proposing. I know y'all spent countless sleepless nights trying to get this passed, and the people spoke, and that's what it's all about. But thank y'all, can't thank y'all enough for all the time and effort y'all put in to do what y'all do. Thank y'all.
Mr. Gosh, go ahead.
I just want to, y'all as a parish council need to keep y'all eyes on what St. Mary Parish is doing. Because if they build their levee and a storm hits on their side, it's going to come around. We're going to be in trouble. So just keep that in mind.
Mr. Gosh is saying.
Mr. Segura, the money that he's given back, do we know what funds? Was it multiple funds? Was it part of the director's salary, any of that money, or was just?
It was for operation fees.
It was for operations of the board.
Is it any of that came out of general, or some of that was drainage?
there was a portion out of royalty that was reimbursed by drainage, but a small percentage, I think only maybe 15% was reimbursed from drainage. And there was some that was out of general. There was some project stuff that we also covered, some stuff actually before I was here. So I'm not 100% certain where it all came from.
But it's, yeah, like Mr. Brown asked, it's going back where we took it from?
Well, we'll have to look at where we actually paid it from.
Well, I know some of it, though, you know, when it went to election, we did take some out of our election money in that line item, right?
That's not money that we would have given directly to them, so that part wouldn't be,
Okay, so that
was
wouldn't
paid
go back?
directly to the Secretary of State.
Okay, thank you.
Mr. Trahan?
Yes. Ben, Jimmy, I know we worked hard at what we did. I can congratulate you on the job y'all did. Y'all did a fine one, but I think it's now time for us to move it to a regional level. With saying that, the parish president, a group of parish presidents, I would like for some of the levy, Ben Longley, myself, and Larry, I'd like for you to set it up with the parish presidents so we can go make a presentation whenever you can. Because I think this levy deal needs to be presented to a regional level, not just Iberia Parish, but to a regional.
Right. And just so you know, I already spoke to the MPO, and I have that all arranged. In fact, we was going to do it at the very next meeting, which is next week. But that meeting is going to be at the governor's mansion, and they decided not to do it at that one. They're going to do it at the next one. So you're coming. I already spoke to Ben. I think I'd already told Ben. Yeah.
So
So-
we looking at a month, 2 months down the
The
road?
very next meeting should be next month. Well, July.
Okay.
But Monique is totally aware of everything. I told her that I would love to have the knowledge that we have with the Iberia Levy District involved in whatever we're doing as far as drainage goes. In fact, Ben has already done work for the MPO, for the APC, the MPO. He did calculations for the Gage project. So it's not like they don't know who he is. And we want to make sure that the knowledge that we have gained over the last 10 years or so, that we don't lose it. Okay?
Thank you.
Okay,
You're very
any
welcome.
other discussion? Thank you very much. We appreciate the money back.
Mr. Chairman?
Yes.
Would it be appropriate for me to just to make one comment?
Yes, please.
The only thing I'd like to tell y'all is that I think we need to kind of explain to y'all why we're turning the money back. This is a volunteer board, and we're not set up as a volunteer board without a paid employee to monitor money, and we take it very seriously with the taxpayers, their money. And, I mean, so the problem is we can't operate as a board without any money. So we've been asked by people who y'all have members on, y'all gonna have to make some appointments to replace some people who have resigned. You know, so this board is not a parish board, it's a state board. And it was put together by legislation, and the only way it can be dissolved is with legislation. It can be done, but we've got 3 levy boards in Iberia Parish right now. We've got the Atchafalaya Levy District, we've got the Squirrel Run Levy District, and you got the Iberia Levy District. 2 of those don't have no funding. And I think I need to expand on that. It's not good to create a board with no funding. You know, the problem is the way levy boards were set up in the past, going back to the early 1900s, maybe even longer than that. When all the levy boards were formed in the past, the levy boards that built the levees along the Mississippi River, the Atchafalaya River, the Red River, all those levy boards were funded when they were formed through legislation, just like this one was formed through legislation. There was a constitutional amendment that paid for a $5 million tax. We didn't know that when the levy district was formed. That constitutional amendment no longer exists. So that's why this levy district is in. There's 3 coastal parishes right now that are in the same shape that we're in. St. Tammany, Iberia, Vermilion, Calcasieu, and Cameron. There's 5 parishes that have levy districts right now that don't have any funding. So to be fair to the taxpayers, I mean, to have a checking account open, we got to audit. If you ain't got the funds to pay the auditor, you can't manage funds.
Right.
So this is why we're doing it back. So we're here to kind of serve like we were before, as an advisory capacity to y'all. So,
We
and
appreciate
we're
everything
gonna
you
be
do.
there to help y'all, because there is a lot of things to chase around, and we'll chase the rabbits for y'all. Y'all just need to tell them which ones y'all want us to chase. But it's gonna take, it may be, y'all probably need, as the parish council, to think about forming a committee to advise us on how to operate, because we can't just be out there just having meetings without some direction. And this direction is for Iberia Parish. It's not for the levy district. It's an Iberia Parish problem, and it ain't gonna go away.
Yeah, I'm gonna get a couple of us and we'll sit down with Mr. Richard and we'll get back with you. We
Thank y'all for
appreciate-
all the support. Y'all have been more than gracious to us.
Thank you, Ben.
Thank y'all.
Thank you. Item number 2, Iberia Parish Mosquito Abatement District Annual Report 2017 is in your packet. I don't think we have anybody here. Item number 3, Register of Voters Christy Blanchard to provide an update on her office. Ms. Christie?
Good afternoon. Thank y'all for having me tonight. I also want to tell y'all thanks for appointing me to the office. I just made me a few little notes, so I'll probably just read off, and I want to take too much of y'all time. Y'all, like Paul said, y'all have a lot of important things to take care of tonight. My first day was December 4th. That was my first day on the job, and lo and behold, that week, I think it snowed or something, and they closed the courthouse. So what I did, I went to work. I came to work. So I just want to let y'all know that my staff has welcomed me. We have a great working relationship. Everything's going well in there. I had a few changes. They've all adjusted well to all the changes I've made. A few things I've done in the office. I cleaned up, organized a little bit in there. I've gone through a lot of my records following the state record retention and the parish record retention. Kim helps me a lot on that. I have questions and make my phone calls and stuff. So being that I do work for the state, but also the parish plays a big part in my office too. So me and the staff, we've been reaching out to different schools, trying to get voter outreach, let them know about it, hoping that they call us and say, hey, we want to do the voter outreach, so that they can use the voting machines in all the schools. So we're going to continue doing that. Me and Frankie went to Rotary and Kiwanis Club. They wanted to know what our job entitled, so we went to that. They had tons of questions. So we just finished, we completed a training. It was called the Election Academy in Baton Rouge. My whole staff went. 2 of us went one day and the other 2 went the next. And at that meeting, they just filled us in which of the stuff that would be happening. One of the things that we just started on is called Canvas, the Canvas process. It actually started Saturday night. They ran reports. Monday we started running hours and doing the process, which is Canvas is matching our addresses in our system in Iberia Parish with the post office addresses. And we clean up our records, get people registered. They let us know if they didn't update their address or vice versa. So it's a process that we do. I could get into detail on that if y'all have questions. And at the meeting last week, the Election Academy, they mentioned something on GIS mapping. I'll be getting with Parish President Larry and talking about the shape files. They interested in our shape files. So that'll be a question that'll come later. But something important to the council that y'all would just need to be thinking about, it's not required to do today, but 2020, y'all, redistricting will be starting. So I do have a timeline if y'all interested in it. I have copies. But some of the dates, like May 31st of 2018, we'll finish with Canvas. The census and the legislation, the voting district project is going to end, which kind of starts the process for the census. Then the end of December of 2019, all the precincts get frozen, which means you can't move lines. No precinct changes would be allowed. April 1st of 2020 is when the census, they actually going to start their count. And then, it goes on and on after that. Probably, 2023, you would probably have all y'all new maps if y'all do decide to move lines. So they have a little timeline. If y'all interested in that, I can come by my office, give you a copy, or if y'all have questions on that, just let me know. There is a demographer in Baton Rouge, Mr. Bill Blair, and he offered his services to you if y'all would need. I do know y'all use Mike Hefner for questions, but Bill wanted to let y'all know that if y'all need him to come give a demonstration, he's available. I have his information, contact information if y'all would need it. Some of the other things that I'm doing, I need to come up with some kind of emergency plan in case in the middle of an election, lights go out, whatever it may be. So me and my staff will get together, brainstorm, and come up with something. Electricity, I need to make sure that I have generator power, that kind of stuff. So I've talked to maintenance about it a little, but just so y'all know that I'll be prepared for if that happens. Currently, right now, all my voting machines, all my equipment that I use for a early voting process is all in Baton Rouge. They maintenance and everything right now, just going through the check process. So they had picked that up for one of the elections since we didn't have any in the spring. So just a reminder, my office hours are 8 to 4:30. The other offices in the building all open at 8:30, but my office is open at 8. Just gonna let the council know that sometime about twice a year, sometimes I have to bring a part-time in, because I can't close my office. I can't close for lunch, only close for emergency or a state holiday. So I may need some assistance, may come to you to ask for part-time and to be someone sit in my office. So if y'all want to volunteer, that would be great. So, and the other thing, I wanted to just remind you that we have elections in the fall. Qualifying is going to be starting July 18th through the 20th, which is all handled in the clerk of court's office. The primary election is going to be on a Tuesday, which means early voting will be from a Tuesday to a Tuesday, which is November 6th. And that election is a U.S. Rep District 3, Public Service Commission District 2, and then all your school board members. That could possibly be on the ballot, and a runoff being the general election Saturday, December 8th. So that's just a little update on my office. If y'all have any questions, I can try and answer them. If not, y'all come by and visit when you get a chance. So
Christy, if you could get a timeline that you had up there about the redistricting, get it to Brenda, and then she can email it or put it in our Pigeon.
Okay, I sure can.
I'd like to see that. Anybody else have any questions at this time? Thank you, Christy. We appreciate it.
Thank y'all for having me.
Item number 4, Mr. Patrick Norris, Chairman of the Iberia Parish Airport Authority, to introduce the airport's Executive Director, Megan McClellan.
Good evening.
Good evening.
Hello to all council members. My intent was to actually be here a couple weeks ago and to introduce our new Executive Director, Ms. Megan, but I didn't realize that I had to call ahead of time to get put on the agenda, so I actually missed it. But I do think Mr. Richard did make a statement or whatever, and y'all, should have gotten a press release that we sent out, perhaps in your packets or emails or whatever. But anyway, we're here tonight, and Megan's been on the job now probably about 3 weeks, or going into the 3rd week right here. And before I give her the mic, I would just like to, since y'all had the opportunity to see the press release, I'd like to just read a few things about her, and for the general public to understand who she is, where she comes from, and perhaps really understand why she became the new director for our airport. I know for a period of time, the commission, I know myself, started to catch a lot of heat because we didn't have a director. And, I came before y'all and explained we were doing a nationwide search. We wasn't rushing to look to fill a spot just to say that we put somebody in a spot. We wanted to put somebody that was going to be in here that we thought was going to do the best thing for the airport, for the parish, be a team player. And we looked for the right person. And I can honestly say, I think we have found that person. And, just for the public's knowledge right here, Iberia Parish Airport is pleased to announce and welcome Megan McClellan as the Acadiana Regional Airport's new Executive Director. Ms. McClellan will be responsible for the management and daily activities of both Iberia Parish Airport, both airports, Acadiana Regional, ARA, Lemaire Memorial Airport, LMA is what we go by, under her direction. Ms. McClellan joins the Iberia Parish Airport Authority from Texas Department of Transportation, Aviation Division, also known as DOTD Aviation. She worked with General Aviation Airports on strategic planning and developments as airport planner. Previously represented the Louisiana Department of Transportation and Development Aviation Division, Louisiana DOTD of Aviation. Serving the authority state aviation program manager, in which she assisted our local airport authority with planning, funding, development of airport capital improvements. She also served on the executive management team for Chenault International Airport, which is known as Lake Charles, probably our biggest competitor in this area that we compete with on a daily basis, holding positions of director, marketing, and development. She's got diverse aviation experience, includes airport operations, safety and security, planning and development, marketing, economic development, project management, and project funding. Her education experience and familiarity with the Iberia Parish Airport Authority provides a seamless transition in the planning, directing, and operating of ARA and LMA. She's a native of Leesville, Louisiana. She comes to our position holding a bachelor's degree in aviation management from the University of Louisiana at Monroe, a master of business administration in aviation from the University of Aeronautical University, where she achieved a 4.0 GPA grade point, held positions at 3 Part 139 certified airports, and she's got airport experience that's specific to general aviation, which made her an ideal candidate for our new position of Executive Director. So I'm pleased to announce Megan McClellan, Iberia Parish new ARA Executive Director.
Thank you guys so much. It's hard to follow that, but it was all about me, so that's very nice. Thank you. I just want to say hi, and I'm delighted. I'm excited. I'm thrilled to be here. Aviation is not my job; it's my passion. So basically, my heart's with Acadiana Regional. I want to be there, and I'm so glad that I was chosen to be there. And I'm very happy to work with all of you, represent you, and work with the Airport Authority. And thankfully, I think we've been probably talking to each other for about 2 months, but Pat and I are longtime friends now. So thank you guys so much. And we are here for the community. We're here for you guys, and I hope you guys are here for us also. So thank you guys so much.
Thank you.
Mr. Paul, just one last statement right here, just for conversation purposes right here. She had full support of the commission on her appointment. It was a unanimous decision. So everyone, felt strongly about her. And I think we're going to see good results. She's really jumped into it. And she's really, wrapping her hands around a lot of things right here. Like she said, we speak really daily, if not meet daily. Somewhat of a convenience for myself being close to the airport in the office or whatever. So I either run there or she comes over to my office and we have conferences and everything. But, she'll call me at 8 o'clock at night or text me with a question or a comment or a remark or make an appointment or whatever. So she's really jumped into it right here and we're excited about it. So thank y'all.
Well, Mrs. Norris, I have absolute trust in you, and I can say that I think you hit a grand slam on this one, which I expected nothing less.
Good.
But,
thank y'all. Come by and have coffee one day.
We might do that. Mr. Trahan?
Farmer sugar? Oh, okay.
Yeah, just to let y'all know, we making a lot of changes on this parish level, and I hope we can all come together after some of these changes are made and get a plan to move forward with that airport in different areas.
I hope so. We hear a lot about the airport, not only from within our community, but also from state state departments that come in and visit with us. And, you know, we're working on some new tenants right now to bring in some very expensive aircraft. And, you know, we always hear basically the same statement. You know, y'all have a golden jewel right under your hands. You know, do y'all even realize what y'all have? And we do. And there's a huge amount of opportunity there. Just like anything else, it takes funding to take it to the next step right here. But, you know, we're constantly trying to work on ideas and plans, and we reach out and look for all the funding we can from grants and, you know, from the FAA, from Washington State. So we're reaching out to everything we can right here, and we're gonna hit that home run one day. Good. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Okay, moving on to Public Works reports. Item number 1, Public Works Department reports for closed work orders dated April 30th to May 5th and 7th to 11th, 2018. It was in your packet. Item number 2, Public Works Department report for open work orders dated May 16, 2018 is in your packet. Special business, we have none. Council member announcements. Mr. Gonsalas.
Yeah, just briefly, I know we spent a lot of time early, but just want to shout out to the CCA and Mr. Richard for this effort with the youth in Iberia Parish to put out these mats for attacking coastal restoration. I think, you know, it's important for the youth of our area to notice that we have a problem with coastal restoration in this parish and to address it in the needs that they're addressing. It's just a small portion, a small attempt, but it's important that we see those problems and we get our youth involved to address those problems, and hats off to them, and thank you CCA, and thank you Mr. Richard for going out there and supporting them. We all can't make it, but Larry went out there and supported them, and he was impressed. Also, just a quick shout out to our Mayor Freddie Court for receiving the Distinguished Citizen Award tonight by the Boy Scouts. Thanks for Freddie, thanks for working with this parish council. We look forward to a lot more projects in the near future.
Thank you. Anybody else? We move on to parish president's announcements. Mr. Richard.
Okay, I'm gonna Okay, what you're looking at here is starting on December the 11th, 2017, Public Works started digging Segura Branch Canal. This is a very big deal, what I'm getting ready to tell you here. Segura Branch Canal, which is about 1.52 miles in length. The project took us approximately 17 working days to complete that portion of it. And on April the 11th of 2018, Public Works started digging field ditches on L3H, which is about another 1.5 miles long. This project took approximately 24 days to complete. This drainage is from National Oil Well Varco on Highway 90 across by Estes, South Estes, to Segura Branch Canal, then on down to Bayou Petitons. This is a very, very big deal, Marty, for Highway 90, for that water that's been sitting there that couldn't go anywhere for quite some time. I talked to Vic Segura and told him that we completed that, and we hope to see some good action with that as far as relieving water. Okay, go ahead, Marty.
The Highway 90 project has went to the design phase.
That's right.
I stopped the other day. They had some
Flies.
doing some
surveying,
and it's now going to design phase, and that's some money we won't have to match on that. It's totally state funded to repair the what happened on the service road, just to let y'all know.
Okay, good. And you know, we have been working on a whole lot of things in Iberia Parish for the last 2 years and 4 months, and we've been tackling everything from waterworks, trying to combine waterworks number 4 with waterworks number 3. We're looking at what we're going to do with the sewage. We're looking at infrastructure in Iberia Parish. And one of the things we've been looking at for quite some time is roads. And we all want to have better infrastructure in Iberia Parish. We want to bring more businesses. We want to bring more rooftops. And as parish president, I feel it's my job to tell the people of Iberia Parish where we're at and what we're doing and how I think we could move forward. But of course, all of this is up to the people of Iberia Parish. But I want to present to you something today that we have, myself and the council have been talking about for a while, but I'm taking the lead on this here. This is our problem, of course. The roads are our problem. Iberia Parish have approximately 400 miles of rural parish roads. Most of it need to be improved. we're looking at doing a proposal which will be a proposed tax which will be dedicated to rural parish roads improvements. And currently, this is our revenue and this is where it goes. 2018 revenue, you see we dedicated $980,000 from royalty to road maintenance. We have a parish road fund that we have $600,000 in. I mean, I don't know if y'all want me to explain all of this to you because I'm sure all of you already know because I share everything with you guys. But I want you to look at what we have here as far as expenditures in Iberia Parish and the revenues that we actually receive. And if we wouldn't be putting $980,000 from the royalty fund into this here, you know, we would be upside down. And I want the next little slide, Scott, if you put it up there, is going to show what the royalty fund is actually bringing into Iberia Parish. $1,147,000 is what we received in 2017, and you just heard me tell you we put $900,000 for the most part from the royalty fund into road maintenance. We're down some 83% from the 2008 royalty, and it's a constant decline. And I will tell you, I feel my job here is to truly try to get Iberia Parish to be the very best parish we could be. And if we're planning on bringing businesses here again and improving infrastructure, I have to tell the people of Iberia Parish where we're at. This is what I consider to be the solution. The proposed solution that I have right here is a 3/4 cent sales tax. Collected only in the unincorporated area of Iberia Parish. This tax is going to generate about $3.375 million its first year. Immediate bonding would yield approximately $20 million. However, I'm not one for bonding all this type of money. I mean, you know, we would bond some money, of course, at the beginning to get the project started, but I'm one that feel that we can pay for projects as we go. I don't feel that we need to try to bond $20 million for 10 years and then we're stuck. If something happens, we're in a 9-line bind. I do believe that we need to bond some money, and I've talked to all of you, for the most part, most of you, about how that would work. Again, this proposal will be dedicated to rural parish roads only. Rural parish roads only, I'm so sorry. This is what the solution will get us. The dedicated funds, the 3/4 cent sale tax, will be dedicated strictly for parish roads in the rural area. It's going to be for improvements and related maintenance. It's going to be a 10-year renewable tax. Improvements would begin in 2019. It's going to allow us for more effective maintenance on all of the existing rural parish roads that we have. The money is dedicated to Iberia Parish rural roads structures. It cannot be used for anything else, and I keep saying that. This is strictly dedicated to roads. Rural roads improvement is not for nothing else but roads improvements. And you guys already know that we have some $30+ million worth of roads that need to be improved in Iberia Parish. That's the estimate anyway, $30+ million. And of course, the money that we have right here isn't going to give us $30 million, but it certainly would help us get started on trying to improve what we have here in Iberia Parish. As far as the proposed legislation, I think I would like to get someone to read that. Maybe Jason would read the proposed legislation. Since he's an attorney, or Natalie, would you read it for us?
You want me to read it?
If you don't mind.
I'll read it. Shall sales tax District Number 1 of the Parish of Iberia, State of Louisiana, the district consisting of the currently unincorporated areas of the Parish of Iberia, be authorized to levy and collect a tax of 3/4 of 1%, 75%, 0.75%, excuse me, the tax upon the sale at retail, the use, the lease, or rental, the consumption and storage for use or consumption of tangible personal property, and on sales of services in the district, all as defined by law, an estimated of $3.350 million, reasonably expected to be collected from the levy of the tax for an entire year, for a period of 10 years, commencing January 1st, 2019, with the avails and proceeds of the tax, after paying reasonable and necessary cost and expenses of collecting and administering the tax, to be dedicated and used for the purpose of construction, constructing, improving, and maintaining roads and streets within the district, including any improvements associated with said roads and street projects.
Thank you so much. And this is what we can do with the funds. The funds would be dedicated to road improvements for constructing, overlaying, and maintaining the roads that we have. And if we were ever to have to build new roads for planning and development of Iberia Parish. The proposal, again, is dedicated just for the rural parish roads improvements. Who get to vote on this? Only registered voters in the rural Iberia Parish. This excludes residents of the city of New Iberia, the town of Delcombe, the city of Jeanerette, and the village of Laurelville. I keep stressing that this is dedicated funds because I want people to understand that this money cannot be used for anything else but roads and road improvements. The 3/4 cent sales tax will be dedicated strictly, again, to rural parish road improvements only. The money would be available through bond immediately. Improvements will begin in 2019. It's going to allow us again for effectively maintain all of the existing roads in rural roads in Iberia Parish. These dedicated funds cannot be used for anything else. No ifs, ands, or buts. Nothing but rural road developments in Iberia Parish. Okay. In saying this, as we move forward, we need to all consider that our tax structure was created many years ago and may not fit today's budgetary requirements. We also need to realize that the federal and state governments are not funding programs as were funded in the past. We need to understand that unless we invest in our parish, it is likely that we will not be able to create or even maintain our infrastructure. In closing, I want you to know that I appreciate the efforts that you all have put forward in making Iberia Parish a better place to live. If we are to be truly, it's kind of hard to read. If we are to truly attract new businesses and keep the current businesses that we have in Iberia Parish, we need to invest in our infrastructure. With that said, in closing, I'll just say this here when you get to look at this later this evening. If the council passes this resolution and the sales tax is put on the ballot, I'm committed to educating the residents of Iberia Parish regarding our need for the dedicated fund source for all of the roads, rural roads in Iberia Parish. I will make presentations at all civic organizations. I will host and present town hall meetings. I will present myself to neighborhood watch meetings. Basically, what I'm saying is I will meet with anyone who is willing to discuss what our problems is and what our proposal should bring. But I can't do this alone. I will need each and every one of you in here to work with me and help me educate the people of our parish where we at and give everything out to them. This is all transparent. This is not something that I'm creating. This is what it is in Iberia Parish. And I know all of us want to do the best things for the people in Iberia Parish. We want to bring infrastructure here, better infrastructure. We want to bring businesses here. We want more rooftops here. You hear us talking about the calibers of people that we're starting to hire in Iberia Parish, at the airports, at the ports. We have to get this parish where we need to be in order for this to happen. Additionally, I've been contacted by members of our community who wants to be a part of the road to success and are willing to establish a PAC to help educate our fellow citizens in Iberia Parish to come up with dedicated funds for these roads. I recognize this is going to take much time and effort, but I am willing to invest in our community like I know each and every one of you are. So with that said, you're going to be discussing that in a little bit. And again, this is just what I feel as the administrator of Iberia Parish we need to do to try to put ourselves in a position to bring this parish what it needs to be able to grow and accept businesses in the future and currently. Thank you.
Mr. Richard, I'm not going to let anybody speak until I have a chance to say, I want you to know how proud I am of you. This is not an easy thing,
It isn't.
because I know there's going to be a lot of things being said, but I am very, very proud of you for taking this step. We've talked about it a while, and I'll walk hand in hand with you. It is what we need, and you're right. We don't have funding sources for some of our slots that we need to fill. We're one of the lowest parishes in the villages, and our taxes are lower than a lot of the people around us. This is the right thing to do. And again, I'll be hand in hand with you, and anytime you need me.
And I tell you, this is not easy.
I
Because
understand.
anyone that knows me, know I'm not into taxes. I'm not into raising taxes on businesses. I've been competing for businesses for a while. But the thing is, Iberia Parish got to be able to put themselves in a position to be on a level playing field with the surrounding parishes that we have. And if we don't do what we need to do to build our infrastructure, we will never get there.
But, Mr. Richard, this is what leaders do.
Thank you.
And we're glad to follow you.
Thank you.
Okay, what we're going to do now, I'm going to jump to summary number 4914. Summary number 4914, introduced by the Planning Commission, an ordinance amending the Iberia Parish zoning ordinance to approve the reclassification of property on Crochet Road owned by Eldridge Louvier from agricultural A1 to single-family residential R1 located in District 11. All is reviewed and approved by the Iberia Parish Regional Zoning Commission. I have a motion by Mr. Goshasan, a second by Mr. Napier. Mr. Goshasan?
Yeah, Mr. Chairman, this is just going from rezoning from A1 agriculture to R1 residential, and I ask for unanimous consent.
That's acceptable. Mr. Napier?
Absolutely.
Okay, Mr. Gonsalas?
Second that.
Okay, we have a motion on the floor for a unanimous second. Roll call. That motion passes. Now, I'll ask everybody, we're going to go to summary number 100, introduced by the Planning Commission, a resolution granting preliminary and final approval to Sugar Trace subdivision consisting of 8 lots fronting on Crochet Road in District 11. All is recommended by the Iberia Parish Regional Planning Commission. I have a motion by Mr. Goshasan, a second by Mr. Napier. Mr. Goshasan.
Mr. Chairman, this is just granting preliminary and final approval to Sugar Trace subdivision on Crochet Road, and ask for a vote.
Okay, Mr. Napier.
Yes, and look, we talking about development. This is development. Crochet Road not that long ago was just cane fields, and it is coming to be a very nice well, not just a subdivision, but a nice place to live and raise your children and all that. And it is in District 11, probably the best district here, but I'm partial, so let's go.
Good job.
Mr. Tommy Landry.
I'm good.
Mr. Trahan.
Yes, is all paperwork in line with the planning commission? I'm just asking one question.
I'm going to revert that to our interim director from Delcom, Louisiana, Mr. Scott Saunier. The answer is yes.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. And no other questions. Roll call. Mr. Gold. That motion passes. Okay, we're going to go back now to consent agenda items. First, minutes of the regular meeting of April 11, 2018, published on May 10, 2018. And summary number 98, introduced by the clerk of the council, a resolution endorsing CVD ceramics for the Louisiana Quality Jobs Program. Have a motion by Mr. Gonsalas, a second by Ms. Broussard. Mr. Gonsalas?
Wait.
Ms. Broussard?
Wait.
Okay, roll call. Perfect. Those motions pass. Now we'll go on to summary number 4913, introduced by Warren P. Goshasan, District 5, an ordinance amending Chapter 15 of the compiled ordinances of Iberia Parish, Louisiana, by adding additional sections thereof relating to the registration, installation, and operation of burglar alarms in commercial buildings or structures, to provide for an effective date thereof, and to otherwise provide respect thereof. Mr. Gashassan has a motion. Ms. Broussard has a second. Mr. Gashassan.
Start off, maybe kind of explaining a few things for those that were able to read. And I got a couple of concerns about the yearly fee as far as what's entitled in the deal. If you want to go ahead, I'll let you go, and then we can talk about it.
Well, I guess this all started because of the number of false alarms that are being received. And please keep in mind, we're talking really about burglar alarms. We're not talking about those personal devices that you might have, or those buttons in a bank or somewhere else that tells you something's happening immediately. We're talking about your typical burglar alarms, and this ordinance only relates to commercial structures. It has no application to residential structures. And I looked at a number of different ordinances throughout the United States, and those that seem to work the best are those that require an alarm company to have a permit. And there is a charge for that permit, a yearly charge. But that permit is basically what tells the alarm administrator, hey, we're doing business in Iberia Parish, and if one of our alarms goes off, this is who we call at this alarm company to either make sure that it's turned off or that it doesn't disturb the public, which I think is one of the issues that initially brought this up. Also, they need to identify those places where they're currently providing alarm service. That's our only way to ever get a grip of where all are the burglar alarms within the parish. And then they're also required to register those burglar alarms. And the purpose for the registration is so that someone will know who to get in contact with. In other words, if that alarm goes off at a particular building, who is the monitoring company? Who is the owner of that building? Who are the contact people to have them make sure that there's not a burglary or damage to property or something going on? I have this set up to be monitored by the sheriff's department. They're the primary beneficiaries of this, because what happens is when an alarm goes off, they head out to that alarm fast. They put the public at risk, as well as the deputies at risk. They're the ones that interact mostly with these people, and I believe they would be the appropriate ones. You all know, in an effort to cut down on costs and expenditures by Iberia Parish government, you've cut your employees to the bone. There are not really any employees that are available to monitor this. There are a number of places where they're monitored by either the sheriff's department or city police, or other places where it may be monitored by the government. One of the things also to require is, but before they get a response from law enforcement, they ought to have to go through a verification process. So every alarm owner should have a primary call, a secondary call, and then a third call, or a method by which they have progressive alarms within their business, so they can tell something's going on, because those alarms are progressively going on, so it's indicating that there's movement in there. But some way to verify that there is actual activity going on before the police take off and get pulled away from other things that they're investigating. Then most of these false alarms nationally, and I have no reason to think it's not the same here, are caused by lack of maintenance, lack of upkeep. And so the only way to ensure that somebody does that is
to make sure that if there are excessive false alarms, that there's a penalty for that. And I've set it up as a penalty, a civil penalty, not a criminal matter. And so the first false alarm is free, basically warning, okay, go get it worked on, go get it fixed so we don't have it again. Second one within a 24-month period, 2 years. So if you get a second one, it's $100. If you get a third one, then it's $200, and it progressively goes up. Again, that's in a 24-month period. You know, if you're having 5 and 6 alarms in a 24-month period, false alarms, something's not right and something needs to be taken care of. I think that at least is an overview of what we're trying to do. And again, the real purpose for this is to ensure that law enforcement is able to spend their time on legitimate, necessary calls, be out on prevention, driving around for prevention purposes and other things rather than responding to false alarms. So I'd be glad to answer any questions that you might Do I have. still have the floor?
Yes.
Okay, Andy, did you get with the sheriff's office maybe about who is their alarm administrator? Who they're going to designate to do that?
I left it to them to designate whoever they wanted to within their department. Now I can tell you that you're probably going to want to say, "Oh no, you do it," but you know, this is not really benefiting you like it is the sheriff's department, or look, any law enforcement agency, not just the sheriff's department. So there are a number of ones that used the local law enforcement. And I believe when I drafted that was appropriate. I did send it to them to review.
That was my
at
next
the same
question.
time that I sent it to y'all. So which was maybe Friday. So
Has there been any response back from them about it? I mean,
not to me, there has not been.
okay. The $50 renewal each year, is that more or less an enforcement to make sure that they are updating the contact information?
Yes.
Okay. All right. I'm good for right now, Mr. Chairman. Thank you.
Okay. Ms. Broussard.
I'm sorry, Andy. I appreciate all the hard work you put into it. I think it's a really, really good start, but like we've done with several of our ordinances, I think we want to make sure that we're getting it right, and I don't think we need to rush into passing this tonight. Several questions that I have is, the main one is you're addressing this more to the alarm companies. This day and age, you can buy alarms at Harbor Freight, at Sam's, at Walmart, at Amazon. You have so many people that are installing their own alarms, and they don't have an alarm company. So I think we have a big hole in it with only fining and directing everything to the alarm companies themselves.
If you look at Section 16, Section 16 specifically, and that was a good point. Section 16 specifically says that that most of the provisions of this ordinance are applicable to persons who don't go through an alarm system, but who own their own systems. That goes off there at the alarm site, that doesn't have a monitor, for instance. So I was trying to address those who also had their own private systems, because you're absolutely right that the prices are coming down and you're seeing more and more.
So those annual fees would be directed towards I'm concerned about us doing it to the alarm companies and not to the occupant of the property why would the alarm company pay for the false alarm and not?
No, a private individual would also have to register their system. And
Okay, I get that, but not the fines for the false alarms imposed against the alarm companies?
And to the owner of what we would call a
Yeah.
private system.
If there would no alarm
That's
company.
correct, if there's no.
My concern is we're going to get a lot of pushback from the alarm companies because they have no control over how the occupants of the commercial buildings manage their system and how they operate it and whether they're triggering false alarms or not. I believe the fines need to go to the person who's occupying the building and not necessarily to the alarm company.
There is a, look, let me back up and say that I have no problem with.
Yeah. No, I know you
tabling-
don't. That's why we have
tabling
these
it
discussions.
And looking at it further. There was a lot of writings on the issue of who should pay in order to make sure that you got maximum enforcement. And that is a good question to think about. However, that when you're not talking about a privately owned system, you have a monitor, and that monitor can clearly say, look, we're tired of getting these phone calls, or we're tired of getting these civil fines. You either repair or maintain your equipment in accordance with our specifications, or we're not going to monitor anymore. That was the hope I think that's kind of the stick to use, but certainly that is something we could discuss further and perhaps clarify.
And admittedly, I had to read through this pretty quickly. It's pretty thick, obviously. The other question I had was, the problem that Mr. Goshasan had in his district of a non-monitored system that just actually alarmed for 2 solid weeks. Is that addressed in this ordinance?
It is. In fact, I think Mr. Gotchasan's problem was an alarm that kept going off and it just stayed on. And so everybody around, all they're hearing is an alarm going off. This ordinance also provides that if you have an audible system, that it can't ring for more than 10 minutes at a
Right.
time. And then if you have a rearming device, it can only rearm if there is not a broken circuit. In other words, if there's been a power outage or something like that, they can't rearm and go off again. The other problem that a lot of times some areas we're having is an automated recorded phone call. So when that burglar alarm goes off immediately, an automated phone call, not to a warm body, but to a recorded, goes to the dispatch. And in fact, I see press here, goes to dispatch, and I don't know if that happens here, but it happens in a number of places. Well, there shouldn't be an automatic pre-recorded audio that goes to the dispatch, because there's really nobody to talk to. There's nobody to try to get any facts or circumstances from. I did spend a lot of time on it, and I did try to think of most of the
scenarios.
issues, but in anything you draft.
Oh, yeah, there's always.
Yes, so again, if you want to table it and you want to allow yourselves more time to look at it, and if you individually have any questions and you want to call, then I would suggest that you
Mr.
do
Chairman.
that.
What about one other question, the false alarms to the fire department? I know it doesn't say just false alarms to law enforcement, but I just want to make sure, like, false alarms for the fire department would be included as well.
I struggled with that. And my struggle there was that this request somewhat came from law enforcement, not from the fire department. And so, again, knowing that your staff is so short, who was going to monitor this? And so if law enforcement did, then how are they going to handle the fire? And so it may be that there ought to be a joint alarm administrator made up of someone from the fire district and somebody from law enforcement. That may be an answer, but we do could use some more time to look at it.
Okay, I'm done.
Ms. Broussard? Mr. Olivier?
Oh, I'm sorry. I passed.
Okay. Mr. Gashasan?
Yeah, Mr. Shealy, I understand her concern, and I believe there's a provision in there for an appeal process for the companies and the private owner, correctly?
There is, it's directly, in this particular draft, it's directly to the sheriff.
Sheriff's office.
Now, you could maybe appoint maybe somebody from communications, somebody who understands the problems this creates.
Correct.
False alarms, but that's something we could look at also.
If the council would want to entertain a motion to a further date of the address for final approval, I'm fine with that. I think the biggest thing is getting with the sheriff's office to make sure that they're on, because they're gonna have to enforce the law. So if they don't agree with it, then there's no use of having the legislation there if they're not gonna enforce it. So if you would want to entertain a substitute, to maybe
Okay.
table it, lay it on the table,
Okay,
I'm
so-
fine with that, to give him 2 weeks.
Okay, we have a table on the floor by Mr. Gashasan, a second by Mr. Gonsalas.
Is 2 weeks enough for you, the first meeting in June,
Yeah. Whatever.
to get with the sheriff
Yeah,
maybe?
but I'd like, for any of you who have individual questions, I'd like to hear from you too, and in talking through it with you, look, we may see a better way.
Well, I just want to know if we can, from the sheriff's office, to know exactly who's the alarm administrator. Because I think that's very important, the cooperation between the parish government and the sheriff's office. Without objection, I like that.
Okay, we have a motion on the floor to table. 2 weeks. Roll call.
Thank you, Mr. Shealy.
Brian. And that motion passes. I'm actually going to go ahead and jump to summary number 104, introduced by the clerk of the council, a resolution endorsing the application of Cane River pecans for the restoration tax abatement. I have a motion by Mr. Gonsalas, a second by Mr. Broussard. Ms. Broussard? Mr. Gonsalas?
Wait.
Ms. Broussard? Oh, Mr. Gonsalas?
Give my time to the CEO of King River Pecan.
Okay, Mr. Rigard, would you like to come up and make any comments?
Thank you very much. I addressed most of you last meeting, and I was just really here to answer any questions that anybody might have. Obviously, we're very excited about this opportunity to bring a fairly large-sized business to downtown New Iberia and Main Street, and have some more employment, take care of some blighted building, bring in a tourist destination, and increase some sales tax. Looks like a win-win-win for everybody.
We appreciate
We
that.
like,
Mr.
we like
Mr.
that,
Gonsalas?
we like that formula, Mr. Riard.
That's a good
And
formula.
thank you for your investment in our community and look forward to more good days ahead.
And lots of pecans for everybody.
Ms. Broussard?
I just want
I
to
got a
say
lot.
thank you for investing in our community as well, and we're just as excited as y'all are. So can't wait to see the finished product. When do you think? What's the estimated?
It's a big project. It's a 23,000 square foot facility. We had to put a truck dock in the back so we can get the goods in and out. It's going to take us a little longer to get the complete vision done, but we hope to have our mail order division, which is our largest part of our company, which a lot of people don't realize that we're invested in, completed by September. So we're in there for the fall pecan season when we have the bulk of our business. And then we hope to come back in 2019 and do some more consumer-facing work to the front of the building that'll face Main Street, and it'll certainly enhance that building. That building will be changed than what you see now. We're calling
Wonderful.
for a lot of glass in the front and painted, and it's going to enhance Main Street quite a bit on that side. It'll force Freddie to do something with that other thing across the street. The pressure will be on him next.
Pressure, oh, the pressure.
Okay, no further questions. Roll call.
Is that the best district?
That motion passes. Thank you, Mr. Rigard.
Thank you all very much. Have a good evening.
Back to summary number 4915, introduced by Planning Commission, an ordinance amending the Iberia Parish zoning ordinance to approve the reclassification of property at 5416 West Highway 90, North Ross Road intersection owned by Joseph Viator and Jennifer Carrier from agricultural A1 and mixed residential R2 to light industrial I-1 located in District 3. All is reviewed and approved by the Iberia Parish Regional Zoning Commission. Have a motion by Mr. Mathurin, a second by Tommy Landry. Mr. Mathurin. Okay, Ms. Broussard?
No, I'll wait.
Tommy Landry? Roll call. That motion passes. Summary number 89, introduced by the Clerk of the Council, a resolution approving the issuance, sale, and delivery of not exceeding $3 million of sewer revenue bonds of Sewage District Number 1 of the Parish of Iberia, State of Louisiana, and other matters relating thereto. Note, this was tabled from the April 25th Iberia Parish Council meeting so that the sewer board could have their meeting last night. Mr. Olivier? Is a motion. I have a second by Mr. Trahan. Mr. Olivier?
Pass.
Mr. Trahan?
Pass.
Okay, if anybody has any questions, Mr. Jason is here. Seeing no questions, roll call. That motion passes. Summary number 99, introduced by the parish president, a resolution approving the parish president's appointment for the position of Director of Permitting, Planning and Zoning at the recommended compensation for said position, together with the usual and customary benefits awarded to the employees of Iberia Parish government, all in accordance with Section 4-01 of Iberia Parish Home Rule Charter. Note, a motion to suspend the rules will need to be made, as this item did not go to the Executive Committee for recommendation. I have a motion by Mr. Trahan, a second by Mr. Brown. Mr. Trahan?
This is a motion to suspend the rules?
Yes. Okay, so
Good.
we just, okay,
Is it just 8 or 10? 10.
10, okay. Mr. Brown?
That's what I was saying. Take 10 to move this.
Okay. Okay, roll call. That motion passes. Now we're gonna, okay, so now we're gonna go ahead and vote on summary number 99. I have a motion by Michael Landry, a second by Mr. Trahan. Michael Landry? Mr. Trahan? Mr. Brown? No further discussion, roll call. That motion passes. Thank you all very much.
I
Mr.
think
Schilling?
that there needs to be a discussion of who the person is and then can we.
Would you,
Ready? Ooh, how's he pronounce the last name? Sarah Gary is the lady's name. It's a female. Sarah Gary, Gary. You have to put the salary. The salary is $66,000 with benefits.
yes, Mr. Gonsalas?
We approved it, and then we didn't approve the salary name. I think we need to
Go back.
reconsider and go back and do it right.
Do it right. Go ahead. I agree with you.
Yeah.
Okay, so we have, we need a motion to.
We don't want to mess this one up.
Reconsider?
There you go. We certainly don't. Thank you, Rick.
I'm gonna have a motion by Mr. Brown, a second by Michael Landry to reconsider.
No roll call.
That's it, roll call
On the reconsider.
on the reconsider. Tommy? That motion passes. Okay, now we have a substitute by Mr. Gonsalas and a second by Mr. Napier. Mr. Gonsalas?
I'll make a substitute with the name of the new planning and zoning director,
Sarah Gary,
Sarah Gary, at the set salary of
$66,000.
$66,000 plus benefit.
Plus benefits and compensation.
And please, the date that she starts.
And we don't know the date yet, but it's going to probably be three weeks from now.
Okay.
Okay, roll call?
You got a second on it?
Yep, Mr. Napier. That motion passes.
Thank you all so much.
Thank you, Mr. Richard.
Thank you for going out recruiting tonight.
Thank you. You're welcome. Yes, you're right. I'm looking forward to Scott to come back to work.
Okay, summary number 101, introduced by the clerk of the council, a resolution accepting the resignation of Ms. Blair Blanchard Swear as a member of Iberia Parish Tourist Commission representing the restaurants community effective May 2nd, 2018. I have a motion by Ms. Broussard, a second by Mr. Gostisel. Ms. Broussard?
Yeah, pretty heavy heart that I make this motion. Blair is somebody that is very young in our community, very energetic, and a good advocate for our community. And for her not to be able to serve because she can't make the meetings because of the time of the meetings is very disappointing.
Okay, Mr. Gostisel?
Wave.
Okay, no further discussion, roll call. That motion passes. Summary number 102, introduced by the clerk of the council, a resolution of appreciation to Ms. Roy Ann Brownridge for her years of service to the Iberia Parish as administrative secretary for the legislative branch. I have a motion by Mr. Brown, a second by Mr. Napier. Mr. Brown? Okay. And we have a unanimous second. Roll call? Ricky? And that motion passes.
Gonna miss her.
Yeah. Moving on to summary number 105, introduced by the clerk of the council, a resolution expressing support and requesting that the state of Louisiana and Board of Commerce honor the industrial tax exemption contract with CVD Ceramics. Note the percentage of exemption will need to be determined during discussion. Maximum of initial term of 100% exemption for up to 5 years and renewal of 80% exemption for up to 3 years. Have a motion by Ms. Gonsalas. It's been a long day, my boy. Being out in that hot field, I'm worn out. Yeah, there you go. Y'all need to get together on this. Mr. Gonsalas?
I'll make a substitute motion that the 100% exists for 5 years and 80 for the final 3.
Okay, we have a substitute motion, and we have an okay with Ms. Broussard. Any other discussion? Mr. Tommy Landry? Roll call. Mr. Brown?
Mr. Landry,
Okay. Mr. Shealy?
I just want to make sure that you passed it with 100% for 5 years. It will then come up for renewal at the end of 5 years, at which time you can.
I think it was 100% for 5 years and then 80% for 3 years.
What chance to renew?
Yeah, it'll come back. It'll come back with an opportunity for you to renew at the end of that 5-year period.
Okay, so that motion passes. Summary number 106, introduced by Communication District, a resolution amending the 2018 Communication District Fund Budget in the amount of $15,000 to establish a personal services part-time line item within said budget. Have a motion by Ms. Broussard, a second by Mr. Olivier. Ms. Broussard?
Wait.
Mr. Olivier?
Wave.
Roll call.
Why we miss those?
Marty? That motion passes. Summary number 107, introduced by Parish President, a resolution amending the 2018 royalty fund budget in the amount of $52,074 to appropriate funding for rehabilitation work on an existing system water well to improve capacity to be funded with CWEF grant proceeds, contract 1516 CWEF IBR 001. A motion by Mr. Tommy Landry, a second by Mr. Olivier. Mr. Tommy?
Good.
Mr. Olivier? Mr. Trahan?
Yes, explanation on this. Where's it come from? What is it doing?
Mr. Richard?
I didn't hear you. What?
Mr. Trahan's looking for an explanation.
On what one? On what, Marty?
107.
On 107.
What is that? Oh, that's just community water enrichment fund. That's
I
just a
wanna know
grant.
what that 52,000 doing for District 3.
Okay, all right. But that's just money we get as a grant, just so you know.
Yeah.
Grant dollars, and we're gonna spend them. Grants.
Ain't you famous tonight?
Mr. Resort, if I can
Yes, go ahead, sir.
clarify, please.
Yes, sir.
Every year, the state allows the parishes to apply for Community Water Enrichment Fund Grant, CWEF. They can apply up to $150,000 per year. Iberia Parish government received $52,000 plus, and it just said for water system improvements within Water Works District 3 or 4. It was generic. So the Water Works 3 is asking for approval to do work on a water well, just to clarify what we'd like to do.
You need to work.
The money will come to Iberia Parish and a pass-through to Water Works number 3.
Right.
So we're just clarifying how we're going to spend the grant that was given to the water system.
Okay, do you care to explain that? Exactly what y'all gonna do to that water well?
You want me to do it? We have 3 water wells. One of the ones that we put in 5 years ago needs to be reworked, so we'll take it out of service at some time and restore the capacity of the water well too.
Okay. Anything else?
No, sir.
Okay.
Marty, can
Yes.
I say
Okay,
something?
Ms. Richard?
That's a little bit different to what these grant dollars are being used for. We're having a lot of discussion tonight about Waterworks number 3. Just so you know, I have a lot of concerns with things that's happening at Waterworks number 3, and we are working to better communicate mishaps whenever something happens at Waterworks number 3. In fact, I've gotten with Prescott Marshall. We're looking to work with 911 and come up with systems that can alert people immediately as to what's going on, those types of things. I think this might be some of the concerns that you're hearing. To be honest with you, I've only been in this position for 2 years, and the very first time I heard of some of the concerns that we have at Waterworks number 3 is when we had the first freeze. And we've been working diligently along with the director and others trying to address these areas, and we're gonna get them addressed. It's gonna take a minute. This Waterworks district has been in existence for quite some time. Prior to Waterworks number 3, it was a co-op. So they are servicing people in other parish other than Iberia Parish, in St. Martin Parish, in Lafayette Parish. And what we are trying to do, as you know, in Iberia Parish is get all of our stuff together, our infrastructure together. And I've talked to St. Martin Parish already, trying to get them to take their customers that we're currently serving in St. Martin Parish, give them back to them, give them to them. So we're working something right now. Hopefully that's going to work out. The same thing in Lafayette Parish. I mean, we have people calling me from Lafayette Parish that's having issues with water per se. It is a good thing, but it's not that good, because they should be receiving water, in my opinion, from their parish. And we should be servicing the people of Iberia Parish with our Iberia Parish Waterworks district, and that's where we're heading. Okay.
Okay.
Thank you.
Any other questions on this? We'll be voting on summary 107. Roll call. That motion passes. We'll go back to summary number 103, introduced by Paul G. Landry, District 7, a resolution calling a special election to be held within Iberia Parish on November 6, 2018, to approve the levy or rededication of sales and use or ad valorem taxes in Iberia Parish, to dedicate proceeds thereof to the road repairs and improvements. Note, a substitute motion is needed to determine whether this will be a levy or rededication of sales and use or ad valorem taxes. I have a motion by Ms. Broussard. I have a second by Mr. Olivier. Ms. Broussard?
Yeah, I'd like to offer a substitute motion
Okay.
to state that the resolution is special election for Shell Sales Tax District Number 1 of Iberia Parish, State of Louisiana, the district consisting of the currently unincorporated areas of the parish of Iberia, be authorized to levy and collect a tax of 0.75% the tax upon the sale at retail, the use, the lease, or rental, the consumption and storage for the use or consumption of tangible personal property, and on sales of services in the district, all is defined by law, which is an estimate of 3.35 million reasonably expected to be collected from the levy of the tax for an entire year for a period of 10 years, commencing January 1st, 2019, with the avails and proceeds of the tax, after paying reasonable and necessary costs and expenses of collecting and administering the tax, to be dedicated and used for the purpose of constructing, improving, and maintaining roads and streets within the district, including any improvements associated with said roads and street projects.
Okay, I have a substitute by Ms. Broussard. I have a second by Mr. Gonsalas. Oh, Mr. Olivier. Okay, any further discussion? We do have Mr. Jason Akers here, if anybody has any questions. Everybody's good with it?
Mr. Chairman, if
Okay,
I may
Mr.
make two very important points.
Sure.
And it's not just because it's an hour and 45 minutes in and I'm finally getting to speak, sir. No, two very important points. First of all, if you notice, the proposition mentions that this will be a resolution adopted by Sales Tax District Number 1. Your parish council sits as the governing authority of Sales Tax District Number 1. The reason that is necessary is because you cannot levy a tax as the parish council only in the unincorporated areas without creating a district to do so. You have a district a little bit later. There's a ordinance being introduced that amends the boundaries of those districts, and I'll explain that further at the committee meeting. Secondly, want to note also that as this is a substitute motion, we will file this substituted motion with the State Bond Commission for approval to hold the election on November 8th, with assuming that the council moves and adopts in favor tonight. And as I said, I'm happy to answer any questions for you.
Mr. Trahan?
Wait.
Mr. Napier?
Larry, I want to say you did a great job at the beginning, putting all that out there, and I want to thank you for taking the lead on this. I think it's imperative that you do and that the council follows up behind you. I know some of us, we fought with, should we go with a half, should we go with 3/4? I think even at 3/4, we're gonna have a hard time trying to meet our needs, but we have to start somewhere. I'm gonna support sending this to the people, hoping my colleagues do the same thing, and this is what we're here for, to serve the people of Iberia Parish. Let those people decide in the unincorporated areas, and you explained it real good. There should be no questions on who's voting, where it's going, how it's being done. So I'm going to support you, support this, Mr. Richard, and thank you for taking the lead on this. Thank you.
You're welcome. Ms. Broussard?
Yeah, Larry, I know you're not in favor of the tax any more than any of us are in favor of a new tax, but I appreciate the fact that you recognized a problem. I know that you've been working on this basically since you got sworn in. It might not be the perfect solution, but I think it is the solution that we've all come up with together and working together. And, you know, I know in talking to Mr. Gonsalas, that was one of the biggest agendas that he had from the beginning, was to address our roads and to get something in place for our roads. I don't know if the people are going to appreciate our solution, but I sure appreciate the hard work that you put into at least giving them an option to consider the solution that we have to present to them. And I hope every one of my council members support you and support each other in at least educating the people as to what our problem is. why we're where we are and what our solution is. And if the people support our solution, they support our solution. If they don't support our solution, then we're going to go back to the drawing board and try and come up with another solution.
Thank you so much.
But thank you for all of your hard work. I appreciate every effort you've put into this.
Thank you.
Mr. Trahan.
Yes, Larry, it took a lot of meetings, and I know this is a big deal for you, and it was a hard decision to make, to ask for a tax. But it's
Talk
a
about it.
problem that we have that we need to address public. And Larry, I'm behind you. I'll support you. I'll go to meetings with you if to show support. And I think when we get the pack together, exactly explain what it's going to cost the taxpayer when it's all said and done, would be very minimal
Very minimal.
to attack this problem that we have with our rural parish roads.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr.
Thank
Larry.
you, sir.
Okay, no further discussion. We're going to be voting on a substitute of 103 to let our people in the parish decide what they want to do. So roll call. That motion passes. Thank you, Mr. Reshord.
Thank you.
Summary number 108, introduced by Parish President, a resolution authorizing the execution of the System Survey Compliance Questionnaire for the financial audit for fiscal year ending December 31st, 2017. I have a motion, 108. I have a motion by Mr. Olivier, a second by Ms. Broussard. Mr. Olivier? Ms. Broussard? Roll call. Natalie? That motion passes. Summary number 109, introduced by the Parish President, a resolution amending the 2018 Public Building Maintenance Fund budget in the amount of $30,000 to provide for a carryover environmental impact funding, $13,450 per resolution number 2017-226, and to provide for additional expenditures, $16,550. I have a motion by Mr. Gonsalas, a second by Ms. Broussard. Mr. Gonsalas.
Just an explanation from Mr. Richard. Could you, what does this pertain to, Scott?
Which one is that?
109.
109. That's not that's not with the Dutch building. It is?
That's exactly what it's for.
Okay.
For the environmental.
That's for the work that needs to be
Okay, all right. I'm good with it.
Okay, Ms. Broussard?
No, I just appreciate the fact that this was something that was important. I know I was one of the ones that really encouraged Mr. Reshore to do the environmental study, and I appreciate you listening to us and making sure that we protected the residents of Iberia Parish and spent their money wisely. So I appreciate that.
Team effort.
Okay, no further discussion. Roll call. That motion passes. Summary number 110, introduced by the Parish President, a resolution for any budget amendments necessary relating to the cooperative endeavor agreement by and between Iberia Parish Government and Hospital Service District Number 1 relative to the Veterans Administration Local Service Office as authorized by Resolution Number 2018-72. We have a motion by Mr. Brown, a second by Ms. Broussard. Mr. Brown?
Yeah, Larry, did y'all, did you come together to see who gonna put the bill?
Right. What I'm gonna ask the council to do is table this, because we have gotten with the hospital, and the hospital do not want to pay anything, and the amount of money that is actually gonna cost, we don't have it.
Yeah.
So what we have done, Mr. Brown, is we have going into the annex building across, and where the levy district used to be, we took the two offices there, and the Veterans Affairs is going to use those two offices in addition to what they're currently using as a waiting room. So the problem, and I spoke to Ms. Brown, the problem that they were having, Ms. Brown is with the Veterans Affairs, is that the conversations that they were having was could be heard in the Section 8 area. So the office where the officer or the person that worked for Veterans Affairs actually going to be across where Ray Freeman had his office for the levy district.
So, what you're saying is that we might not need the,
We won't need it. We won't need to move. They're going to stay in that building. And another thing that we're doing is, they were having some concerns about restrooms
Right.
on that particular side. So we're addressing that as well.
okay, so they're gonna be satisfied with it?
They're going to be satisfied
All
with
right.
it.
Well,
I thought you said it's handicap issue, that's not a problem.
No.
No.
They have an
no.
elevator. We're good with that.
Ms. Broussard?
Yeah, based on Mr. Richard's recommendation, I move to table.
Okay, I have a motion to table. Mr. Olivier, did you want to make some comments before I take a second?
Yeah, we sure we want to table it? And the hospital's not coming aboard, just go ahead and delete it.
Or delete, I'm so sorry. You can delete it,
Let's
yes.
delete it. Natalie,
You can delete
if
it.
you don't mind deleting it, yeah.
You can do it.
Okay.
I'll second that.
I'm sorry.
Okay, so I have a motion by Ms. Broussard to delete, a second by Mr. Olivier. No further questions. Roll call. That motion passes. Summary number 111, introduced by Warren P. Goshasan, a resolution amending Resolution 2011-61 adopted March 9, 2011, which approved the list of parish drainage channels to be sprayed, ditches and channels as listed, in order to add the ditch at 3606 Avery Island Road to the spray list, and further to remove same from the grass cutting list. Have a motion by Mr. Goshasan, a second by Ms. Broussard. Mr. Goshasan?
I'll waive.
Okay,
No
Ms.
discussion.
Broussard?
Uh,
No further discussion,
Right,
roll
right.
call.
Okay.
No. Tommy, Mr. Brown? Olio?
I don't know.
Francis? Berwick? That motion passes. Summary number 112, introduced by Communication District, a resolution approving the name of a private road to be known as Rue Marcel, located off Boyance Road. I have a motion by Ms. Broussard, a second by Mr. Olivier. Mr. Broussard?
Waive.
Mr. Olivier? Roll call. Vote, guys. That motion passes. Motion to adjourn. We'll come back in 5 minutes.
5 minutes.